Joining us now for a preview of the hearings, Frederick Lawrence, Distinguished Lecturer at Georgetown Law, also CEO and Secretary of the Phi Beta Kappa Society. Thanks for joining us once again.
Good to be here, Steve.
Obviously, the focus is going to be on the Hill the next couple of days, possibly the rest of the week, depending on how long these hearings last.
That's right.
I want to start first with the latest news with these newly released documents overnight. Democrats had asked for a lot more documents to be released.
Right.
The White House had said no, and then now at the last minute last night, they're like, well, you can have some of them, some still being tens of thousands, and now Democrats say, really, at the last minute, this is what you're going to do?
It's not a great way of doing business. The truth is, what the Democrats are asking for is full disclosure. Republicans have said they've given more documents on Kavanaugh than anybody else. That's probably true, but that's because there are more documents on Kavanaugh than anybody else. But the truth of the matter is, the best way to have done this would be full open disclosure. You can actually make a lot of these documents committee access only, not open to the public, but only open to the committee. And that really would have been the better way to do this.
Is this standard procedure, though, to withhold certain documents, release certain documents?
Well, what makes this one delicate is that you do have a candidate for nomination to the Supreme Court who'd worked for the President of the United States. And so you do have executive privilege. That's a very serious issue. President of the United States is entitled to have confidential communications with people, and people have to know when they tell something to the President, it's not going to go any further. So I understand the concern there. The problem is, when you're talking about a nominee to the Supreme Court, one of the major issues for him is going to be his views on executive power, and that implicates exactly those kind of documents.
So what might be in the documents that were released, and what might be in the ones that have not been released?
Communications to the President about all sorts of issues, but particularly about his feelings about executive power. And those are the kinds of questions they wish to know. Having said that, there certainly are things that ought to be confidential between the President and his advisors. If you want to know one word that's missing in a lot of this process right now, it's the word trust. And right now, you don't have a feeling that documents are withheld for good reasons. That's what the Democrats would say. Republicans would say, we got to do our job.
We spent a lot of time talking about the documents. Let's get down to the actual hearings now. We only have a short amount of time to talk about this, but what do we expect over the next several days? And what is it that are the issues that could cause the greatest friction between the two sides?
I think you'll see questions about abortion rights. I think you'll see questions about executive power, and particularly now, because this is a court, not in the long term, in the immediate term, within the next year. You could see this court ruling on issues of a subpoena from an independent counsel to the President of the United States, so that issue could be an immediate issue, so you'll see that. You'll see discussion about religious exemptions to generally applicable laws. Our rule in this country has normally been that if a law is generally applicable, if it affects certain religious groups differently, it still applies to them. Now, we've seen that change within the last year in the area of same-sex marriages. The question is that going to be a one-off? Is that a very narrow exception? That was the cake case, you may remember, the cake bakers who didn't have to make a cake for a gay marriage? Or is that going to become a new general exception to generally applicable laws? You'll see questions on that, too.
Well, we're going to see a lot of questions over the coming days, possibly the rest of the week, and we will see a lot of political theater as well. How long do you think this is going to last?
I think they'll be done by the end of the week. I think 4 or 5 days. You're right to call it political theater. I regret to say that you'll see a lot of questions that are being asked not to be solicit answers, but to hear the questions. You're going to see a lot of Democrats who are potential candidates in 2020 trying to make themselves heard and get a little bit of a platform here. You'll see Democrats playing a little bit of get out the vote for 2018. None of that has anything to do with confirming a Supreme Court justice.
Hopefully there will be a number of questions that actually will impact the Supreme Court justice and whether or not it should be confirmed. You think he'll be confirmed?
I think he'll be confirmed.
All right. We will talk more as the week continues and we get more and more information out of the hearings. It's 8:06 right now.